very good morning to you and welcome to K24 this morning. My name is Jeff Moto. We're inching closer to the end of the week, but right here you make sure we keep you fully informed as to what's happening as far as current affairs is concerned. But more importantly, have those important discussions and what's making the news. Now, today marks the beginning of a number of by-elections across the country this month. We have London, Hell's Gate, Huruma and Kiamakoma wards all having their by-elections today. And the threat of impeachment of the deputy president that seems to be hanging in the balance, politically speaking. We also talk about political alliances and impeachments that might or might not happen on the show this morning. But also, as always, we start off by looking at the front pages of our dailies and see what you're waking up to. So let's start right there. This is K24 this morning. Let's see what we have on the front page of the PD as we look at that. Front and center of the PD, it's all about matters health and the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination. Let vaccination begin. A day after the arrival of COVID-19 drug in Nairobi, President Kenyatta is expected to flag off distribution of the jabs to public hospitals across the country. This story is on page 4 and 5 of your People Daily this morning. And from this particular point in time, of course, they've already enumerated and spoken about those who are in the priority groups and how that rollout will be done even as it moves forward. You can find that story in your copy of your People Daily. And don't forget, the PD is only 10 shillings. You can get it straight to your phone. The number that you dial is star 550 star 4 hash. Once again, the number that you dial is star 550 star 4 hash. And once you do that, you get it straight to your phone. It's brought to you by the People Daily and Safaricom. Also in the copy of your PD, NAT feels the heat as TSC okays third union. Move comes at a time Sosion has been condemning teachers' employers over what he terms as malicious attempts to kill tutor's body. That is a story you can find in your copy of your People Daily as well on page 6. Also on the front page of the PD, Raila clashes with Kingi over Coast Party push on this particular front. And of course, this will be subject of our conversation today. Where does it go in terms of this regional politics and the regional awakening that we've seen, especially at the coast? You can find this story in your copy of your People Daily as well. Let's see what else we have in your papers this morning. Move to the Standard now. How search for KPA boss hit brick wall. The waiting game at the Kenya Ports Authority continues after Treasury CS trashed the list of names of candidates picked by the board for not meeting the 70% threshold for state corporation bosses, saying post must be filled by a person with utmost competence. And of course, as we know, this particular docket pretty sensitive and pretty scandal prone from what we've seen so far. So definitely they'll be very careful with who they put at the helm of this particular authority. And you can find that story again on page 5 of your Standard this morning. Also in your Standard, let's see what we have. Voters pick MPs amid rigging claim. ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi and ODM officials clash over allegations of plot to manipulate outcome of by-elections in Matungu and Kabuchai. So as you can see already, the ground heating up even as we move forward with these particular by-elections. Also in your copy of your Standard and right on the front page, Raila and Kingi clash over party, as you can see right there. A day after Raila Odinga pleaded with the Coast region to abandon a plan to form a new regional outfit and instead support ODM, Governor Kingi, who accompanied the former premier during his rallies, rejected the plea, saying the region had already decided to chart its own political course. What does this mean even as they move forward from this particular part? And what happens to ODM as a whole and as a party? You can find that story in your copy of your Standard as well, with the details therein. That's what we have on the front page of your Daily Nation now. A dose of hope, they're calling it. With the arrival of the first consignment of COVID-19 vaccine, our frontline workers, healthcare givers, teachers and security agents will start receiving the jabs from tomorrow, marking a big step in the war against the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, this being a silver lining in that very, very grey COVID cloud. And you can find that particular story in detail in your copy of your Daily Nation as well. But moving away from matters health and matters politics to a cultural icon being laid to rest, as you can see right there. Let's scroll down and see what you have right there. Kenyans mourn Bernie Wailer. Reggae legend will be remembered as the last of the Wailers group that was also founded by Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. Definitely a legend right there. And you can get that story on page 3 as well as 31 of your Daily Nation this morning. Let's already have on the front page of the Star now. IEBC fresh crisis may delay June referendum. Commissioner Boya Molu falls out with acting CEO Majan paralyzing operations. Where does it go from here, of course, and this being a very critical time for the Commission to put everything in order as we move closer to what will be the particular referendum in play. Where does it go from here? That's a question that the Star seeks to answer, and you can find that particular story on page 4 and 5 of your Star this morning. So that's what the papers have this morning as we wake up. And right here, we're talking about the political side of things, the alliances and possible impeachments that might happen on the political landscape on the show. We love it when you're part of the conversation. You can get me on Twitter at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. Welcome to K24 this morning. And welcome back. As always, we love it when you're part of the conversation. If you want to get me on Twitter, you can do that bright and early. Get me on Twitter at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV as we discuss these pertinent issues of the day. As we do that, let me get to my panel, both in studio and without as well. In studio, joined by Honorable Gladwell Cheriot. She's the Women's Rep for Baringo County. Morning.
Morning.
Karibu sana, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for making time.
You,
Asante sana. Joining the conversation virtually, we have Gabriel Muthuma. He is a governance expert. He is going to be on the show as well. We also have Millie Luanga as well. Joining the show from Naivasha. Morning, Millie.
Good morning.
Karibu sana and welcome to the show.
Asante.
Asante sana. Before we jump into the rough and tumble, which is characteristic of the politics and dynamics of that, just want to get your thoughts and your sentiments as far as the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine is concerned. Honorable Gladwell, let me start with you, because this is a concern the entire world has, even as they get into this particular process of rolling out this particular vaccination. What's your sentiment so far? We start the launch tomorrow. It's launched tomorrow by the president. Then it goes to these priority groups. What's your feeling on this particular process?
Yeah, I want to actually say it's a good moment for Kenyans to have received these vaccines. And I know there's a lot of mixture of reaction by Kenyans. And we have seen them even in social media exchanging and saying, we can't actually start using this vaccine unless the leaders start using them as usual, because they are in front in everything. So they said, those ones, the leaders started to do my numbers, so they should start using vaccines before us so that we can see the reaction in them. But again, I think there's no, we have not done enough of awareness to the public so that they are ready to receive the vaccine. And of course, as always, you know, a vaccine is an attenuated virus. It's a live virus which is not active until it is used to the body to create an antibody. So it is true that sometimes you can fear, but like I said the other day in another media house, I said, you know, vaccines is something that normally in Africa we don't receive so positively, and especially by some faith-based organizations. And the one that has been in front actually talking or fighting against vaccines is normally Catholic churches of maybe the world. And I don't know what the tech is for them as far as now is concerned. And it was important that we make them be aware, tell them the side effects, tell them the good part of it. But again, we also are worried as a country because of the logistics that are used to also carry vaccines. I must say I'm one of the practitioners of health field, and I used to work with the Ministry of Health. The question is, how is the logistic? How do we carry this vaccine so that it reaches the destination when it is still a potent drug? Because if actually we import, we use all these lots of money, and the drug reaches when it is not potent, then it is still a waste, because while being injected, in the process I'm thinking I'm prevented, and yet the drug lost its potency sometimes back. So to me, it is it's a good thing. It might help us actually revive our economy, because if this is it, after using it, the country is no longer put in curfews and so forth, we extend the time of doing business, then it will be good for us. But Ministry of Health has a lot to do in terms of making the public actually believe and trust in the products. I
want to jump to Millie and Gabi, but before I do that, very quickly, because there was some talk yesterday, I think it was on the front pages of the dailies, that some politicians are trying to jump the queue and get to the front of this COVID vaccination. Have you heard something like that from where you stand?
Okay, I had something of the sort, but like I've put it, Kenyans have given us the cue because they are saying, let's go, let leaders go in front. So we have not even jumped it.
Okay.
We have already been put there.
Okay, okay. Let me get to Millie and Gabby joining us online for the conversation as well. Morning, Gabby. Welcome to the show. Gabriel Muthuma, governance expert. Very quickly, your sentiments on the rollout of the vaccine. Of course, from tomorrow, it's officially launched by the president and then distributed across the counties. What's your take on this as they start the process?
Jeff, good morning, and thanks for having us, Santa Sana. Yes, I mean, you can see actually some parts of our country had waited for these vaccines with pomp and color. When it arrived, you saw the minister was actually at the airport to receive it, and people have been playing banters of, people in Kitengela where the vaccines are actually being kept. It was a happy morning yesterday. Now, when you get to the nitty-gritties of how it is going to the vaccines are going to be disseminated, I think that's where the issue may come in, because we do not, personally, I do not know, maybe Millie or one of our guests who has just talked about it may actually know, but there seems not to be a formula of how that will be, people will get the vaccine. So I think if the government has come up with a formula, it would be best, Jeff, that people are told how that formula was arrived at and how quickly the vaccines can be disseminated. Remember, it's not that much. It's 1 point something, the doses are 1.2, maybe they are 1.1 there from what we were told. So we really need to have a very good formulated plan of who. Sometimes it's also good to start talking more about them, because like somebody said, our good presenter there, our good friend there has just said, there still is that stigma. I think this is a high time we need to talk about it. We need to continue talking about what COVID is all about. We need to show the strength of these vaccines. And we also need to tell most of our politicians who are starting to play politics with this, that this is not the right time to do so. Remember, Jeff, if you look at how these vaccines are being received globally, there is actually some element of discussion that sooner or later you may actually require a vaccine certificate, if you will, to be able to travel. So I think at one point there has to be that discussion of who gets this vaccine, when, and the follow-up. We must be keen on checking the side effects. So I believe it is not just we get the vaccine, that's it. No, I think there's a lot of background play that is going to come out of it. But so far, Jeff, I can tell you, it is better we just in Rwanda has received theirs as well. Let us not play politics with these vaccines that have come. Let us find a formula that everybody will be grateful for.
Okay, let me bring Millie in on this as well, because fortunately yesterday I had a chance to speak to CAS Ministry of Health, Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, touched on the same issue. And something that I brought up was the integrity of the whole process. We are still trying to get to the bottom of what were the COVID millionaires with the masks and all of that. And even as we move into this particular process, some Kenyans are concerned that probably this is the second season of that, or probably COVID billionaires, and they said they will allow the media in to show the entire process of how it works from Kitengela's storage throughout the counties. But for you, Millie, what's your biggest concern as we get to the launch phase tomorrow?
Thank you very much, Jeff, and welcome to virtual appearance, Gabriel. Good to see you.
Asante.
I'm glad that there's some system that the government seems to have in place in as far as the rollout for this first consignment is concerned. I know for a fact that they have said it should be free for everybody who receives it, and there should be no payment made by any of those who receive it. They have also identified categories of persons who must get it first for this first lot. And included in them may be some politicians, because they're people with pre-existing conditions and health workers. And we cannot belie the value of having some of our politicians being seen to take the jab, because much as there's that bit of the population that is really waiting for this vaccine and believe in vaccination, there is that part of the population that are apprehensive about all the rumors and the stories that are there about these vaccines. So I think that much as we like sometimes to hit at our politicians, we also do expect quite a lot from them. And if we see them taking the jab, and people will be sure that if Mheshimiwa, with all the information that they have in as far as whether this is concerned, well, at least we tend to believe they have a lot of information. If they can take the jab, then it really cannot be that bad. And it may encourage more to take, because we must be very concerned, particularly about our health workers who are the front line in this war against COVID, and also for those people with pre-existing conditions. Remember, at one point when COVID started, we seemed to have forgotten them. And there was hue and cry from persons living with cancer and all the other serious conditions that exist. And they were saying that people had forgotten that we have these people in Kenya, and we are focused so much on COVID only. So we must make sure that their immunity is boosted by access to this vaccine, so that they reduce the chances of getting it, because we really do not want to lose more people than we already have. It's unfortunate that we have lost anybody to COVID. It would be unfortunate if we lose more.
Okay, we'll see how that launch takes place tomorrow, and of course the subsequent rollout of that. I want us to move from matters health to matters politics of the day. It's all about alliances and the possible threats of impeachments that have been doing the rounds. Honorable Gladwell, let me come to you right now. We have March being a by-election season, so to speak. What are the stakes with this? Because we've seen them go out and really campaign very vigorously. Is this just a test run for what might happen in 2022? What are the stakes for the ward by-elections we're seeing today and the subsequent by-elections we'll see later on in the month?
Yeah, it has very high stake for the party principles and the possible coalitions to be made. And the way Kenyans' principles of politics are rearranging themselves, it is actually a test of what might happen in 2022, and every other person, every other party is working so hard to make sure that their candidate garners the seat at the moment. Mm-hmm. Of course, we know it is just around about 1 year and some months, but the issue is not the period. The issue is actually zoning areas and there's principals owning those areas, and like, yes, I have to produce a candidate here. Right. So I think they have a fear, they have the fear of the future. Mm-hmm. So that you've seen the campaigns are so vigorous, and I think I've participated in some. Right. Because, of course, like you put, you work for the alliance you are in. Right. And the shaping up of politics of this country will only be done through these by-elections now, and people. Some parties have agreed where they are fielded a candidate, another party who is friendly to them does not. And so these parties that are agreeing now come together to really work for their candidate, so that it outshines the other party. And it is majorly, I think, like the way I'm seeing, there is an alliance which has got about 3 parties. ODM also has its own. ODM has not agreed with any party not to field a candidate. And I think one unique one that I've seen is the London ward that actually they have left for Jubilee. But in Matungu, they have a candidate. So you realize there's a serious competition, and I don't know. Today will mark the day that these parties will know their future, their fate in politics, and it has a lot, because after today, the discussions will be different. Okay. Who is who? Right. Yes. They will be very indicative of how things might turn out. That is the perception. You know, politics, it's all about perception. True. Yes. Okay, Gabby, let me come to you on this as well, because even as you look at how these alliances might be forming, there's this one party that seems to be spoiling or probably having this political arithmetic not add up. UDA. Pretty new candidates. Yes. Nobody knows what to expect from them, even as they get into this particular fray. Are they the ones that could be the dark horse in all of these races that we're seeing?
Well, Jeff, UDA, that's what everybody's talking about, because remember they've been very keen. First of all, you know, to be associated and again disassociated. So they're bringing in another aura that you know, many people are wondering, okay, who are the real owners? Who are the real true owners of UDA? But something is quite funny about it. They seem to be having a following, and that following is growing by the day. You know, let's actually look at some of the seats that you know, this morning we are looking to have, you know, the course of the day, this Kabuchai and Matungu. You will realize it is about now the parties that were there before. They want now to strengthen their stand. This can be understood. And there's a lot of political play that is out there this morning, primarily on these two seats in Matungu and Kabuchai. You saw what happened at the coast. We really don't need to talk about that much, but you saw what happened. The party that we thought would take, you know, care of business was unable to do so. And this new person came in through a party that we all know. But that just tells you there is an element of push and pull. There is an element of now parties trying to cement their weight in the respective areas where they deem to have come from. So when you look at Western today, you will see, or you will find Ford Kenya and ANC are now trying to push their strength, even fighting now with one of their alliance members, ODM, to show now this is our backyard. You know, it is also quite revealing when you see other parties saying, no, on this one, we do not have a skin in the game. We will not put a candidate. So there is that backroom talk that is also happening, but there is this kid, like you say, the new kid on the block, UDA, that just wants anything, that wants everything. And I think what they're trying to do is to cement themselves to show we are the party of the day. So there is, you know, as much as we are talking about the pushing and pulling, there is something that needs to come out clear, that parties have now retreated to areas where they seem to have a lot of, or where they purported to have started, where they own the ground. They have retreated now, ready for 2022 to come out and show, you know what, we are still alive, we are still kicking. For instance, there are areas where ANC and Ford Kenya don't want ODM to win, because they do not want that notion to continue, that ODM owns Nyanza and parts of Western. They do not want that. They want to be identified, you know, as a very strong, or as strong parties within the areas of representation. So when you talk about an alliance, right now it is, I do not see it happening. It's more like there's a divorce on all manners, whether you're looking at it from the Jubilee point of view or whether you're looking at it from the NASA point of view. Okay. Now, parties have actually decimated and they are going directly to the voters. Let us wait and see how this happens, Jeff, because at the end of the day today, or when we learn about the win in Matungu and Kabuchai, we'll be able to analyze more on this.
Okay. Millie, let me get you in very quickly before we get to our first break. There's also this small issue of the referendum between now and the next general election. We haven't had a very strong no on this particular subject. Do you think probably these by-elections might strengthen some of these who've been on the fence and make them more bold to take opposition to the bill as we get to the referendum?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Sorry.
Sorry, I was asking, with these by-elections, do you think victory for some might make them more bold in opposition of the BBI bill if it gets to the referendum?
Well, definitely. I'm sure that there are some people who may want to read this by-elections as an opportunity for them to voice their oppositions much more loudly and appear as those who are fighting the system, so to speak. I say system with quotes in the air, because whatever that system is still a matter of debate. But I think that the truth of the matter would be that if you're really doing your analysis right and you want to determine where to go, using BBI as a barometer and as a strong or primary barometer for what your chances would be in 2022 may be a fallacy, because I think that the fact that certain goodies had been placed within BBI makes it extremely attractive. That is why we've seen it sail through most of the counties. We may see it sail through with Wananchi when people are so fed up with corruption at the national level, and imagining that more of those funds will come down. And you know, Kenyans, we are very interesting and peculiar, as we have been described. We would rather that our people, in quotes again, eat the money than that it is eaten at the national level, where we don't know who are these people who are eating it. So it may be a fallacy, but definitely we will see people do that. We saw it happen with the Matungu by-elections, and we saw people reading it as a strength of UDA and forgetting that the coast regional politics was a primary issue of concern, I think, particularly in those by-elections, with the reality on the ground being the Arab and the African factors being at play, and the leadership of the coast with the presenting gaps emerging, that they needed a solid leader who would represent the region being an issue or a factor at play, but people not noting or playing too much into that. But you never may now pick up on it and be able to read through it, because ODM seems to be a strong factor in the coast area, but seems to be handling the issue perhaps maybe differently than others would have expected them to, noting that that issue of the divide within the coast is something that needs to be addressed in a more systematic and clear manner.
Okay, and that's actually something we'll be talking about after the break. What's happening at the coast at this particular point in time? We have a region that seems to be clamoring for its own political outfit, political vehicle, but a former PM who's really trying to dissuade them from that particular move, with his own lieutenants trying to lead that particular move as well. So we talk about that after the break. We also look at some of your feedback. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote or K24 TV. Short break, back with more. This is K24 This Morning. Don't go too far.